Somebody planted a tree in the chimney.
Some of the dishonest narratives that we've been tricked with. But it sort of goes back, I think, very fundamentally to respecting some of those Judeo-Christian traditions that so often have guided us into successful relationships, raising wonderful families, living in communities that are functional. And when we don't honor some of those basic principles, we run into trouble. And on this election day, one of the many things that's being evaluated is what's called this government shutdown. And I thought I'd use this maybe as a jumping point to speak to those very values that Charlie would and you and others would speak to. We are in a nation that treasures work. We believe in our country that business is good. And you want to work in business and do things for your community through those businesses and build value in society and do things that fix problems, all the things that many of us grew up, I think, believing was incumbent to our opportunity as Americans. Yeah. And many people came from other parts of the world because they know and found out that America actually still does those things that their country stopped doing, like go to work, play a role in improving society, have agency over your own life because it matters. God put you here to do something. And whatever that thing is, go out and do it. So when we faced, as we came into the administration, a reality that Medicaid was basically insolvent because of some of the things that had been done during the pandemic, but some of that predated the pandemic as well, we had generated a system that just was not going to be functional for much longer. That would put our most vulnerable at risk. I'm sitting in the Humphrey building in Washington, right across from the Capitol. As you walk into our building, there's a quote from Hubert Humphrey, and it says it's the he uses light as a metaphor. It is the moral obligation of government, he says. It's the moral obligation of all of us to take care of those at the dawn of life, children, those at the twilight of life, the seniors, and those who are living in the shadows. Now, again, that haunting metaphor is powerful. It feels almost biblical. So if you're going to protect our most vulnerable, you can't allow fraud, waste, and abuse to strip it of its vitality. So the president very directly told me to preserve, for example, Medicare. Don't touch Medicare. Don't hurt the folks who are vulnerable on Medicaid, but take the fraud, waste, and abuse out of the system. We have been doing that, and we're going to continue to do that. The Democrats have shut down Washington, shut the government down because they believe that the one big beautiful bill, which codified many of the things that make sense to clean up Medicaid and protect it for the most vulnerable, were wrong. They want to, for example, allow illegal immigrants to continue to get funded for their health care benefits. This fundamentally changes the equation. Democrats don't like there's a work requirement. But we tell people, fine, if you're in a difficult spot, we'll pay for your health care. But you need to actually try to get a job. And if you can't get a job, go volunteer somewhere. Go take care of somebody. Go get an education. Do something to reinforce what you should know deep down inside, which is God's got a plan for you, and go act on it. And these are fundamental differences in how folks are seeing the future of this country. I believe because work is so fundamental to who we are, that we should have a work requirement. I believe that if you're an American citizen, you should get support for your health care. But illegal immigrants coming here and induced to stay here because they're given free health care, that should not be part of the equation. Certainly, the federal government should not be paying for that. And we know, for example, and just not to get into too much of the weeds here, that there are some states, there are 6 in the country, 6 out of 50 states, allow separate money to be paid to illegal immigrant health care from their state budgets. They claim. And of course, that allows them to recruit and retain illegal immigrants, despite what federal law is around coming across borders illegally. And they think that's okay. And now we are just identifying, breaking news, I'll share it with you, that we believe is over $1 billion that has been taken from federal tax money to support these programs. In fact, they're starting to pay us back, so I'm pretty sure we're right.
Wow. I wanted to play this clip for you from Rachel Maddow. And it's in relation to the government shutdown, where she's basically saying, well, if you strip these subsidies out of Obamacare, the ACA, then all these costs are going to go up for Americans, right? Now, Republicans have been warning about these subsidies for years, that they're going to make Medicaid and Medicare insolvent in the long run. But I want you to give you a chance to respond to this and debunk this. 137.
Look at these numbers from the New York Times tonight. Based on the newly posted information, meaning the pricing information that's now being posted in multiple states, a family of 4 making $130,000 in Maine, so you combine the family's income, everybody's salaries, you got up to $130,000, that family would face an increase in their annual health insurance premiums next year of $16,100. That's how much their health insurance premiums would go up. This is what Democrats have been drawing the line about in the shutdown, telling Republicans that this is the thing they need to fix.
Dr. Oz, this is your world. Respond to Rachel Maddow, because that clip on Facebook, by the way, had like 100,000 likes. So if a lot of people are seeing it.
So President Obama, who created the Affordable Care Act, right? It's called Obamacare. When he pushed through Congress in a very partisan way the Affordable Care Act, there was funding for people who are at the poverty level. The question then becomes, how do you define the poverty level? Well, they defined it as 4 times more than poverty. So poverty level, let's just make a number up, is $16,000. Make it math simple. Make it $20,000 the poverty level. Then 4 times that for an individual, $80,000, is how much they were willing to cover. They weren't going to cover 5, 6, 7, 8 times the poverty level. They just had to pick a number. We all do. So Obamacare did not cover people who are making more than 4 times the poverty level. And for that reason, when they added these COVID benefits, and they were purely added because we were in a pandemic and a war, and they were added for a very short period of time, and they were set to end when the pandemic ended. Are we out of the pandemic? We're out of the pandemic.
Of course.
We should not have pandemic era wartime rules when we're at peace. So the Democrats wrote the law. It expires at the end of this year. And so it's their decision. They knew it was supposed to expire. Original Obamacare never covered people making 4 times Medicare. Rachel Maddow just picked an example of someone who's making whatever it was, $150,000 a year, who is making more than 4 times Medicare. Therefore, they were not ever eligible for Obamacare. And she's complaining that what was done during COVID as a stopgap measure to deal with the pandemic is not being expiring. So that's a problem for the Republicans. We were even willing, despite all that, to negotiate and talk about some of these issues, but only if we find a true solution to the fundamental flaws in a broken system. Obamacare pricing has increased so much faster than anyone ever imagined. It is becoming unaffordable even when the government's paying for it. But that's not what the Democrats wanted. They want to hold us hostage. At the last moment, they say, forget about it. If you don't, with a gun to your head, agree to extend all these subsidies and just pay, forget about dealing with the costs, just pay for it, we're going to hold you up. And the president, very wisely, very bravely, together with congressional leadership, said, no, we are not going to be extorted. You guys caused this problem. It's your issue. We will help you fix it, but don't blame it on us. And yet, the legacy media, New York Times, good example, they tell stories that are literally like Aesop's fables without the morality.
I think that's really well said. And I'm sitting to my left is Blake Neff, one of our producers here on the show, Dr. Oz. And one of the things you rail about, Blake, and we're running out of time here, I wish I could give you the floor, is that just when you get somebody addicted to a government subsidy, it's really
it just becomes permanent.
It becomes permanent.
Everything becomes permanent.
And that's what we've seen. So the whole narrative that we're trying to strip health care from people, no, this is COVID-era spending that is unsustainable. We have to do something to bring it back. Yeah, we want to make healthcare more affordable, but this is not the way to bankrupt the country.
But if I can just jump in there, because I do think it's critical. What is the average amount of premium that an Obamacare recipient will get next year after all these things that Rachel says are so horrible expire? It's going to be $50. That's it. It's $13 more than this year. That's the whole battle. Literally, the average person is going to be asked to pay $50 for a month for their insurance.
I want to welcome in Rich Barris, Big Data Poll, the People's Pundit. Rich, thanks for racing back. I know you were out and about, and you hustled back to make it for the show, so thank you, my friend. We also got Jack Posobiec, Human Events Daily host here, and let's do a 4-up here. Rich, one of the things that we've kind of, probably stressed out a lot about over here, and we devoted a lot of our time at Turning Point Action to getting out that low prop voter in this era of Trump. Trump has remade the electorate in so many ways. What do we do? Is it just a presidential election cycle that we seem to be so anemic about this turnout, or is it Trump directly? Like, meaning, are we going to see a reversal in 2028? Is that just the way we're kind of geared on this side now?
The truth is we don't know the answer to that, and that is why after the 2024 election,
what I really tried to convey, Andrew, was that these voters that you guys were in, and it was really Donald Trump being at the top of the ticket provided a unique opportunity to help other groups get these voters to the polls, because all of the research that we did clearly did say Donald Trump. If I'm going to go for anybody, it's going to be Donald Trump. So the number one goal the Republican Party should have had was courting these voters. And I guess we're going to answer your question over the next couple of years. I mean, you had to convince these voters that the Republican Party was becoming more like Donald Trump, and Donald Trump was not going to revert back to the old Republican Party, because they have no loyalties to the Republican Party. And it's just the truth. And a lot of people resisted this. Just when you look at New Jersey, for instance, and I'm not here to criticize, I'm just flatly saying what happened. There were a lot of the minds around the president saying, you know what, we're concerned that if you go there, you're going to drive up Democratic turnout. Andrew, that presents a fundamental misunderstanding of the realignment. Democrats are now the party of higher propensity turnout educated voters, more educated, or as Charlie used to say, credentialed. Don't say educated rich, they're credentialed, right? And that's true. But Republicans don't seem to get this. If you're still saying things like, I think it's dangerous to send Donald Trump to New Jersey because you could increase Democratic turnout, you don't understand the Republican coalition, like fundamentally, period. I mean, we're 10 years into this movement now, and there are still some people who don't know this. Donald Trump has to be, and I'm sad to say this, but Donald Trump has to be present like he was in 2018 to make sure that people get out to the polls who vote for him and are not sold on the Republican Party. And I know that's an unfair thing to ask him, but it's just the state of the party. I mean, Republicans aren't ready yet. They're not ready yet.
Yeah, Rich, I mean, this is something where, and I'm just going to say it, right? One of the differences between Virginia and New Jersey still has these blue-collar Democrats. You have a lot of the ethnic whites, Italian, Irish, Polish. They will cross over to vote for Donald Trump. Virginia, the Democrats are the white-collar federal workers. They're the ones supporting Jay Jones and the No Kings protests.
Yeah, I see, Jack, because you get the realignment, you know that. So I get these people who say, but Virginia, in New Jersey, they voted pretty close on the presidential level. And every time you recite an election that was a year ago or 2 years ago, you're missing the moment. All right, like trends continue, really? Jack. They don't just stop and freeze in time, and things don't occur in a vacuum where they don't stop at borders.
I believe that Republican voters, because just the huge amount of attention from a media perspective, cultural perspective on presidential races, that you do tend to even if we're the low prop party now, we're gonna narrow that gap, that turnout gap for presidential, whether it's JD or whoever in 2028. And I will say this, glass half full, we're playing on their turf. New Jersey, Virginia, New York City. Right. These are areas that we don't dominate. We have to be honest about that. And the fact that we have them on their heels and we're playing offense, I still am going to take that as positive. Now, we're not done.
Food, that's a problem in and of itself that I think we need to address. And part of it, I think, is the work requirement we put in the big, beautiful bill, which hopefully will start helping everybody.
Yeah, no, we talked a lot about food stamps on this show because there's a lot of fraud, there's a lot of abuse, and a larger problem is that when people get addicted to these programs, you can't ever get them off, and that's not the way forward either. Really quick here, Congressman, I want to address this. You have referred John Brennan, former CIA director, to the DOJ for criminal prosecution. 2 minutes left in the segment, Congressman. Tell us what's going on here.
You're not supposed to lie, but you're definitely not supposed to lie when you're under oath talking to Congress. It looks like that's exactly what John Brennan did. He told us in a deposition in the last Congress, he told us that he did not want the dossier, the crazy Russian dossier we've all heard about. He didn't want it included in the intelligence community assessment, pushed against having it in there. But then Tulsi Gabbard declassifies a report from the House Intelligence Committee from several years ago where it says exactly the opposite. In there it says he actually wanted it in the intelligence community assessment. And they relate a story where a CIA official comes up to Mr. Brennan and says, Director, this dossier doesn't hold up. There's no underlying intelligence to support the claims of this foreigner, Christopher Steele, who wrote this thing. It doesn't work. Brennan's response was,
Yeah, but doesn't it ring true? I think fully displaying his motivation about him wanting to get President Trump and go after him and putting it in this intelligence community assessment, which was the report that they changed between Election Day 2016 and Inauguration Day of January 2017. So that's why we referred him. You're not supposed to come in and lie to Congress when you're under oath. It looks like that's what he did. And when you couple it with everything else we know about what Brennan and Clapper and they all did, right when President Trump was going from winning the election to being sworn in as the next president, it's pretty darn bad, and that's why we sent it. And we'll see what the Attorney General and the Justice Department do.
Well, listen, Congressman, thank you for staying on that story. I think I speak for the audience when I say we want justice and we want accountability. When they talk about the big lie, this was the real big lie. This was the actual big lie, and they tried to distract us from it. They tried to take away President Trump's first term because of this. We do not forget. We do not forget. Yeah, President Trump fought through it. He fought through it admirably. I don't know if anybody else could have done what he did, but he did, and we're grateful to him. Congressman, God bless you. Thank you for coming on and honoring Charlie the way that you did, and stay on it. We'll have you back on again soon. Thank you.